So as everybody knows, inflation is the major concern now for central banks across the world, and every central bank on this earth, I would say, is now looking for hiking rates, an opportunity to hike rates, because everybody is fighting inflation. So Federal Reserve has done so many hikes now. It's almost 10 now. So the federal funds rate, which used to be 0% last year, now is at 2.5%, and markets expect at least 10 more hikes. So which means, at least 1% to 1.5% to 2% hike more, hikes in the next few months. So this is the agenda. This is the framework. Then we also know that in addition to rate hikes, central banks are also doing one more thing, which actually goes under the radar, but this is actually the more important one, if you ask me, from a market perspective. And that activity is what is called balance sheet reduction. In the sense, from 2008 onwards, to fight the economic collapse and so on, central banks went into a policy of liquidity or money printing, and they printed money in trillions and trillions. Now that inflation is flaring up, they have reversed that strategy. And from this month, from September, the FOMC, or the Federal Reserve, is going to remove $100 billion per month of dollar liquidity, or they are going to reduce their balance sheet size. That's how we measure it actually. So the balance sheet size is also getting withdrawn. This is one single factor, I would say, which is very, very important for global dollar liquidity, and therefore the way markets are going to behave in the coming months. Right? This is the tone. Now, again, we discussed this inflation is going to be still high, and it's at 8.3 in US. Across the world, it is very, very high, close to 8 to 10% range in every country. So this is another factor that we want you to keep in mind. At least this is what we think is important, is that it's not just the US. Every country in the world, every developed economy in the world is facing a massive inflationary pressure. Now, to come out of this, they have to hike rates, and hiking rates will mean a potential global recession. Now, already there are signs appearing in all countries across the world, but in the coming 6 months, I would say the chance of a significant global recession is very, very high at this point in time. So this is not something which is taken very lightly, and this is something which has not happened in the past 14 years before 2008, after 2008 crisis. So global recession is one major risk factor for all equities, and therefore even currencies everywhere. Of course, dollar has gone through the roof because of these pressures, and US yields have shot up. US 10-year is right now, as we speak, 3.5%. What used to be 1% in 2020 is now close to 3.5%. So imagine the kind of pressure on home loans, the kind of pressure on corporate borrowing, the kind of pressure on all the consumer credit. So there is a significant dent in all of this, and therefore global recession is definitely on the way. So this is the global paradigm. And on the local side, while India growth story is pretty decent, things are very okay. From equity market perspective, still good, because equity markets are somehow believing that India growth will pull it out of any global recession. All of those positivities have helped Indian equities to withstand the pressure. Right now, despite the global equity collapse, which happened, not collapse, I would say crash, which happened 4 or 5 months ago, they all recovered, and if you see, Nifty has recovered significantly. So there is a good story there. That's what, at least on the surface of it. But in the next 6 months, what is going to happen? We are very not at all optimistic on the markets in the next 6 months to 1 year anyway. But that is on the equity market side. But underlying the equity market positivity, the negative for Indian economy per se is the massive current account deficit, or the trade deficit, export minus import. That number is surging. It's a 28 billion per month running. Now, this is a huge number, right? $28 billion of deficit on the trade account, which is significant. Now, if this continues for next 6 months to 1 year, even at $25 billion, right, taking into account all the NRI remittances, all the software exports, everything, we are going to have a deficit of $100 to $120 billion on the current account. That means just to keep the rupee where it is, you need $120 billion of inflow. Now, inflows are not happening. Inflows are going to go on the other side now. FIIs have pulled out money, $22 billion in this year already. Right, FDI is coming in of 30-40 billion, but is nowhere close to plugging this gap of 100 to 120 billion dollars. So RBI has to step in, right, to prevent any sharp rupee depreciation. Now RBI has done it to some extent, but RBI also has their own problems. You can't just use their FX reserves, which they accumulated in the past 2 years. Massive reserves they have, $640 billion. They are spending those reserves, no doubt, but $90 billion is not something which, it's not a small amount they have spent already, 90 billion. Now that is still not enough to contain the rupee move, because you are at a deficit of almost $100 billion. So the point is, the rupee depreciation, if this is the kind of structural problem that rupee has, rupee depreciation is a given. It's going to happen, but it's not immediate. It's good that the timing is a question, right? So to net summarize our view, right? I mean, all these are just to summarize our view, right? Rupee, we think, is going towards 81 to 82. That's the bottom line. That's a base case scenario. Now, whether rupee will go from there even higher, that will depend on, let's say, an accident happening. Accident meaning, some major bank or a major country coming into the brink of default. Right? See, people think that those things are all completely, out there. These are all not going to happen. No, but the point is, we are actually in a completely new market paradigm, which we did not see in the past 14 years. Now, every country have massive fiscal deficits. They just borrowed left, right, and center to help their economies during COVID. Now, all of those bills have to be paid, right? I mean, all those borrowings have to be serviced. Now, if interest rates go up like this, even the interest amount will be burdensome to a lot of countries. So countries in Europe, for example, right? Europe is a problematic area now. Europe has completely turned out from a net exporter, they have become net importer. Their energy crisis. On top of it, countries like Italy, which have massive fiscal borrowings, have massive now higher yields now compared to 0% for the last 7-8 years now. Suddenly they have massive yields coming, they have to service that debt. So these small pockets can flare up, right? So we don't know what is going to happen. I'm not saying this will happen, but that possibility is there. So if that kind of stuff happens, then yes, rupee can go to even 84, 85, 86. There's no stopping that. But that is not something which we should use to plan our risk mitigation. Broadly speaking, 81 to 82 is our base case. And I would say this will happen in the next 6 months or so.